In 2006, during the war, the U.S. Army lays out stations in northern Afghanistan to battle rebellion and ideally associate with local people so they drop their weapons. One of these stations is PRT Kamdesh, situated in a far-off valley encompassed by mountains. This confinement made the station be viewed as a death trap. One night another group of warriors is moved to Kamdesh. They're upset about it, but rather they actually hit it off with the warriors as of now there. Under one of the fortification beds, they notice the words "It doesn't improve." The following morning, the new men gaze at their environmental elements while different warriors make sense of how the radicals utilize the mountains for shock assaults. Out of nowhere they find a canine and Zahid prepares to shoot it, however Skusa quickly stops him since he protected the canine to keep it as a pet. At that point agitators open fire from the mountains. The warriors promptly get away as they fire back, attempting to keep away from the blasts that begin going off in the station. Since they were shocked they begin running out of shots soon, so Carter is conveyed with more. Anyway, he was given some unacceptable ammunition and after some contending, Carter needs to run back. The officers continue to shoot and fire a mortar to obliterate their objective, rapidly procuring them a triumph. Afterward Gallegos kicks down Yunger and affronts him for terminating excessively near his head. Then Carter returns with the right ammunition and gets chided for contending during a fight. Close by the warriors find a man has lost a piece of his face and they shout for a doctor. In a little while the warriors get a call making sense of their injured companion escaped a medical procedure alright and he'll rejoin them soon. In the meantime Skipper Keating reproves a youthful trooper since he was found smoking Mary Jane. Knowing not to cut installments since it means very little here, Keating busts him down to private and releases off his time. The following day Keating declares they need to work on their relationship with local people and orchestrates a shura, which is a kind of Muslim committee used to examine significant undertakings. Sometime later the troopers show up at the shura working to meet with the town elderly folks. Despite the fact that local people are furnished, Keating passes on his weapons and assurance outside to demonstrate he comes in harmony. With Muhammad as their translator, Keating clarifies for his desired older folks to isolate the regular citizens from the Taliban to keep them safeguarded. He additionally offers cash and agreements. At that point another trooper completes a discharge build-up test that demonstrates one of the gatekeepers was important for the previous assault. Keating say he should report this, which will make him lose honor with his own seniors. After bunches of belligerents, the elderly folks make their whole gathering put down their weapons and Keating imparts an embrace to the pioneer. That evening the officers barbecue some meat, drink, share a few stories from home, and dance to a music to celebrate. The next day, the extremists open fire from the mountains once more and the warriors immediately make tracks. They begin shooting back, yet this time the battle doesn't keep going long. In a little while Hart hauls Yunger out of his room, hollering at him in light of the fact that Yunger took an image of his better half to have some confidential time with his own hand. In any case, Hart causes Yunger to do push-ups while saying sorry to the photo, yet Yunger kisses it. In the meantime Keating gets requests to move an enormous strategic vehicle to Narai. The others bring up the possible risk since the streets are excessively tight, however Keating reminds them orders will be orders. He even workers to drive the vehicle. For the following couple of hours, a little truck directs the strategic vehicle through the risky ways around the mountain. The vehicle is still too enormous and its tires frequently descend the edge a bit. Before dinner time, they need to stop when they recognize something ahead, however when they investigate they find it's simply a dead chicken. The truck continues onward and nearly drives Carter over the street, however Romshaw gets him in the nick of time. At the point when the strategic vehicle attempts to progress as well, it winds up tumbling off the edge and detonating, killing Keating and different warriors inside. When they return to the station, the fallen officers are given a legitimate burial service. In a little while Aleskas shows up to be the new skipper of the station and the troopers show him around while enlightening him concerning every one of the issues with the mountain assaults. Yet again unexpectedly something detonates on the ground and a few extremists begin terminating from the mountains. One of the fighters was in the shower and needs to help his companions while stripped. After the assault is finished, Aleskas sends a group on the lookout. The gathering complies however continues to grumble about it during their walk, yet there's no point in thinking. Romshaw utilizes the opportunity to show the others how a genuine decent attack would make the most of the station's points of weakness and obliterate their stockpile structures in addition to the generators. A couple of days after the fact, Kirk finds a nearby taking photos of the area and starts pursuing him. The man nearly gets away yet chances upon another officer and falls, giving Kirk time to catch him. After the group tracks down his telephone and the photographs, the man is bound and Thompson keeps watch while making sense of the miserable family story behind the scars on his arm. Another shura is coordinated, and this time just around 50% of the elderly folks appear. The elderly people men grumble since they haven't gotten the cash Keating guaranteed, yet Aleskas lets them know he'll just compensation after an examination is finished behind the photos in the telephone. At night, Mohammed returns from the town saying that the Taliban are preparing for a huge scope assault in light of the fact that the towns are disturbed over the absence of cash. Anyway, his warnings aren't viewed in a serious way since he tells a shameful lie consistently. Later, Aleskas takes a group on another watch. Mohammed keeps an ear on the radio to get any faux talk, however he asserts he can't grasp specific lingos. At the point when they come to an extension, Kirk and Carter cross first to ensure it's protected. Then, at that point, Aleskas crosses with Yunger just to be hit by a blast in the extension. Yunger saves himself, yet Aleskas falls out of commission. Blood lands all over his mouth, leaving him in shock. That evening, the warriors attempt to manage their anguish with some music. Romshaw hears a commotion and goes to research, just to find Aleskas shudder and muttering to himself with a weapon close by. While offering quieting words, Romshaw gradually eliminates the projectiles from the weapon, then, at that point, shares how he needed to watch a dear companion kick the bucket as a result of a sharpshooter. Anyway, obviously the injury has left Yunger in a terrible mental state, so when a helicopter stops by to pick Aleskas' body, Yunger leaves too. The chopper additionally brings the new pioneer Broward, who reports the station will be shut in July and advises the fighters to focus on shutting shop up to that point. The following day, the warriors give Broward an Afghan ID they track down close to the scaffold. They accept he is one of the specialists from the hydroelectric plant, so they need to begin looking through the towns. Broward prohibits it since it conflicts with the principles of commitment and reminds them to leave this for the researching official. Romesh's fights are all overlooked. Time elapses while the fighters put forth a valiant effort to adhere to schedule. Before long, one more assault from the mountain begins, and keeping in mind that the others fire back, Romshaw calls Broward for reinforcement. Anyway, Broward requests a positive weapon distinguishing proof first. Skusa utilizes his optics to affirm it, and a lot of fighters go out to help. After the assault is finished, Broward discusses the guidelines of commitment once more, calling attention to they can't simply shoot somebody for acting dubious, and radio or weapon recognizable proof generally starts things out. Romshaw takes a stab at fighting again since they plainly were enduring an onslaught, yet Broward would rather not squander any more ammunition or exacerbate the relationship. In the end, Broward declares that since they're feeling the squeeze from the Afghan president, they won't leave in July. The fighters will get a $1,000 raise, and in the event that they're fortunate, they'll leave in October. The gathering complies, yet hates Broward more consistently, particularly since he pees in bottles in his room and makes the warriors take them out. Later during lunch, Carter approaches Bunderman to share the soldiers' abhorrence of Broward. The man just passes on his office to crap, and every one of his principles plainly show he's frightened, so it's difficult for the gathering to genuinely take him. Anyway, Bunderman makes sense of Broward has been in additional fights than every one of them, and their obligation is to comply. Before long, it begins coming down, and Carter shudders exposed while keeping monitor and talking with Gallegos on the radio about religion. That evening, some development is seen on the mountains, and abruptly a blast occurs somewhere out there. Broward permits the warriors to shoot a mortar back as a warning and calls some unacceptable directions, yet the group revises him in the nick of time, and the mortar is terminated without issues. In the first part of the day, they have a gathering to break down the circumstance. On the off chance that the extremists were moving the mortars by walking that late, it implies now they have night vision as well, yet they can't think about where these weapons came from. The gathering is interfered with by the appearance of the older folks, who have brought a dead young lady and blame the Americans for making it happen. The warriors can perceive the young lady has been dead for a really long time, and the Taliban killed her deliberately to deceive them. However, Broward will pay them in any case to stay safe. The senior likewise uncovers he realizes the Americans are leaving, which should be ordered data. Out of nowhere, a senior hollers in torment in light of the fact that the canine messed with him, despite the fact that it's hazy, assuming he incited the creature deliberately. Muhammad makes sense of that getting nibbled by a canine is very disgraceful in their way of life, and the older folks request revenge. Decisively, Broward kills the canine with a shot prior to chiding Skusa for keeping a pet during war. In a little while, the warriors have a good time by testing who can endure longer in a waterboarding circumstance. They're intruded on by Broward, who reports he's been feeling better of obligation and another commander will show up in a long time. He additionally affirms they're authoritatively shutting this station in October 6th. Bunderman is left in control until the new skipper comes, and he tells the others they're actually permitted to converse with their families, however they can't educate them regarding October to stay away from the data arriving at the adversary. Everybody hurries to call their friends and family and get profound when they hear news from home. Promptly toward the beginning of the day on October 3, 2009, Muhammad comes running into the station, saying every one of the locals are gone and that many Taliban are encompassing their base. Indeed, he isn't viewed in a serious way, however when they take a gander at the mountains with optics, they affirm he's idiom reality. Explosives begin going off on their camp, and the warriors rush out of their beds to join the protection group. A firefight starts while the guerrillas run down the mountain, and a warrior nearly gets hit in the head, yet his protective cap saves him. Bunderman races to the comms room and falls when a blast goes off behind him. The cameras show that the guerrillas have encircled the whole station and no spot is protected. Before long, Bunderman is hollering on the radio requesting help, yet an airstrike will just show up in 2 hours. Thompson gears up and heads out to help, just to be killed on the spot. Different warriors move around to arrive at the long-reach weapons and the vehicles for cover, continuously pushing the discharge along. Before long, they're running nearly out of ammunition, so Carter hurries into the inventory space to get more. It's taking excessively lengthy, however, so different warriors begin concealing inside the various trucks. In the interim, Rungshaw goes around the base, providing out requests and taking shots back at any foe he sees on the mountain. Kirk conceals inside a structure to change weapons and rapidly emerges to assault, but a blast cuts him down and a shot takes him out, so his companions drag the body back inside. Obviously, the station is losing the fight and a frantic Zahid rushes to see Bunderman, asking for air support and making sense of his men can't battle any longer without ammunition. An irate Bunderman advises Zahid to give his very best until further notice and pushes him out of the structure. In the hospital, the couple of specialists they have region currently occupied with patients and can't go out to help the contenders. An officer volunteers to recover Kirk and crosses the station as he keeps on evading shots and blasts, falling a couple of times simultaneously. In the end, he arrives at the structure and with the assistance of the others, they put Kirk on a cot and start conveying him toward the clinic while running from the weighty fire. In the stockpile room, there's an extraordinary sloppiness since everybody needs to take ammunition to each side of the base. Skusa is given ammunition for the gatherings trapped in the vehicle, but he's shot down when he leaves the structure. Different warriors toss gas projectiles for cover and take his body to the specialists as well. Sadly, Skusa is dead when they come to the hospital. Kirk is keeping it together, yet his heartbeat is frail. Carter snatches, however, much ammunition that he can bring and starts to go through the base, continuously hiding before a blast can hit him. Ultimately, he comes to one of the vehicles and another warrior hops in with him as they share out the ammunition. Rungshaw keeps on sneaking around the station, utilizing any weapon he can track down coming. At any rate, a projectile detonates close to him and he leaps to evade, however his arm is injured. He involves his radio to apologize to the fighters in the trucks since he questions he'll contact them soon. Afterward, Rungshaw enters a structure and makes another arrangement of assault with different troopers. Then he goes to the hospital to mind Kirk, yet entirely he's as of now dead. Irate, Rungshaw gets a weapon and heads out to find where he can shoot the foe marksman, at long last killing him. The firefight go on as blasts continue onward off out of control. Hart takes ammunition to one more gathering in a truck, yet when they attempt to remove, the vehicle stalls out on a knock. At that point they find the Taliban has penetrated the border, so the gathering passes on the vehicle to battle them, yet Hart rapidly has chanced down and soon the others are killed also. Just a single person makes do and he races to illuminate Rungshaw, who along with Zahid takes shots at any foe strolling close by. Before long they're educated that the adversary is getting through numerous focuses on the base. In the comms room, Bunderman gets a call saying fortifications are close. The arrangement until further notice is to dive in and hang on as long as they can, yet Rungshaw comes in and says they ought to retake the base. He makes sense of there's still a lot of ammunition in the stockroom, so he will likely get it and block the primary door. As a blast stirs things up around town building, Bunderman allows Rungshaw to let it all out. He likewise cuts all the comms on the off chance that the foe has their radios, and presently the gatherings trapped in trucks have no reports on the circumstance. Burnt out on pausing, the gathering with Gallegos and Carter chooses to act. They get off the truck and run as quick as possible while Carter gives cover, yet soon Gallegos is down and Carter conceals inside the truck again with another warrior. At that point he sees a man slithering as he drains out and needs to help him. At first his accomplice stops him, however at last he consents to give cover. Carter goes out and rapidly arrives at the injured fighter, getting his leg prior to getting him. In one speedy run, they return to the truck. Subsequent to get together a few workers, Rungshaw sneaks around the camp and overlooks Bunderman when he advises him to hang tight for an automatic weapon. The gathering starts taking shots at every one of the adversaries getting into their base and even continue to move regardless of whether there's a lot of smoke nearby. In the wake of killing tons and lots of radicals, they come to the front entryway and Rungshaw gets a room. At the point when he's going to begin shooting the men on the mountain, a bomb tumbles from the sky reporting the appearance of air support. With the helicopters and planes killing many foes continuously, Carter thinks for even a second to leave the truck once more. He continues to shoot while getting a radio to affirm that the airstrike is their ally. Then, at that point, he runs back to the vehicle and the gathering utilizes the radio to call Bunderman, who makes sense of a major bomb will drop soon so they need to leave all alone. Carter and his accomplice put the injured trooper on a cot and run as quick as possible. Fortunately they come to the clinic without a moment to spare and the specialist must choose the option to involve his own blood for the bondings. Before long every one of the survivors are giving to help their injured companions. When the new commander shows up with fortifications, a large portion of the base has been obliterated by the besieging. There are as yet a couple of radicals around, so they search the mountain region to stop them. At the station, the survivors search each corner too to accumulate the bodies and find Muhammad concealing in a bureau prepared to say no surprises there. At the point when the new skipper enters the base, Bunderman reports their misfortunes in tears. The commander praises him for his administration and declares tomorrow they'll explode the station prior to leaving. That evening the couple of survivors accumulate around and share one final tune to express farewell before the helicopters remove them. As they take off, they watch the blast that wraps up obliterating the station, despite the fact that they're miserable to hear the man Carter saved didn't make it. Every one of them gets stars for their work, while Carter and Romshaw get awards of honor, turning into the most improved unit of the war. After 3 days at another base, the fighters get to call their friends and family. Carter sees a clinician and has a PTSD-prompted breakdown that makes it hard to inhale, so the analyst assists him with quieting down. In the long run, an examination pins the clash of Kamdesh on flawed administration that neglected to work on the base's guards. This caused all clearly faulty stations to be shut. This fight was the first in quite a while to offer decorations of distinction to living men.